Well, now that we've crowned a Music Madness champion, not to mention determine which band is going to get a discography review based on Music Madness 2012, it's time to see one of them live. Yeah, in a funny twist of fate, there was actually a show that occurred right after I had announced the winners, and one of the winners ended up being a part of the show. We're, of course, talking about the show that was taking place down in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the Heritage Hunter Tour featuring Ghost, Opeth, and Mastodon, and it is my duty right now to review that show for you guys. Now, this happened last night, but due to the fact that I was just absolutely exhausted due to a grueling day that happened before the concert even started, well, I couldn't get to it. So, here I am, and here's the review. Now, first off, this was my first experience, to my knowledge, at the Stage AE Pittsburgh location. So, any of you guys that have that were at the show last night or have been to the venue before, you guys kind of knew going in what this was kind of going to be like. But for me, this was the first experience, and I got to say, the venue itself is pretty cool. It's a combination outdoor-indoor venue, and this one was taking place indoors. Now, Ghost kicked off the show, and once again, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to go to the show, because Ghost is a band that's been getting a ton of press lately, not to mention they are real promise for the future of metal in general, and the showmanship is the key part of this performance, and it's something that they make apparent right from whenever they walk onto the stage. And this was a great display of the true power that their first album really captivates a listener with, and they were able to do so both visually as well as auditorily. So the combination of the two just makes the experience complete, kind of whole. What you sort of hear whenever you listen to the record it becomes visual to you. You know, you can now visualize it because it's happening in front of you. And so, instead of thinking in your head that perhaps this strange individual is singing these sermons to you, you're now seeing the sermons being sang to you. And it's just a really cool way to sort of complete the whole mythos behind the band. And not to mention, just wildly talented, real great hope for the future, and a fantastic crowd reaction. The one thing that I noticed was I thought to myself, well, shit, I should have taken my camera to get some shots for the show and things like that. But right whenever Ghost came on, you just saw a sea of cameras fly up and start recording, start snapping photographs. So there's a plethora of them out there. So mine would have been no different. I would have been competing against 60,000 other people. Okay, maybe not that many, but you get what I'm saying. Great experience. Because of this, I would see Ghost any other time that they would come through, probably regardless to who they would happen to be touring with. But knowing them, they would make good touring selections. That brings us to Opeth. Opeth was the second of the three bands that went on, and as many people have predicated, they have done, they did, should I say, mostly a clean set. However, that's mostly, which means that there actually were a couple of death metal songs thrown in there. The one that really stands out to me, that really shines forth, is one of my favorite Opeth songs of all time, that being Demon of the Fall. Two interesting notes about this, three actually. I have to add in my own personal touch. Firstly, this was my third time seeing the band, so that was awesome. Secondly, I really wish that I wouldn't have missed the show that happened on Halloween night, because there was a guy there who I met at this show called the Opeth Chicken. And the reason why he's called the Opeth Chicken is because he dressed up in a chicken suit to the show, got up on stage, and jumped off. It's ridiculous. That's what happened here in the Pittsburgh day. It's crazy, the people that you meet at these shows, and reviewing the videos and stuff like that is just really cool. Thirdly, and perhaps more notably, is just the fact that this was probably the most polarizing I've ever seen at an Opeth concert, because, of course, the showcasing of the clean material, the heritage material, obviously, which is what they're still supporting, really created some tension within the crowd, yelling, play some fucking metal and things like that. To which, of course, I had to say, they are. Some people just still don't understand or accept this transitional period for Opeth, and you can kind of understand, but this is a band that's taking leaps and risks, and regardless to them being my favorite band, this was probably the highlight of my evening, one of the big reasons why I went there, and Mike's crowd interaction is stellar as always. Many jokes that I really couldn't replicate to you, all of them. However, one involved Leonard Skinner, which was really great. It was the introduction to the Dio song that was on the record, the Dio tribute song, should I say, mistaking themselves and saying that they are from Switzerland, which was a joke in and of itself, and just overall having a great rapport with the audience. Really, just anytime I see these guys, and anytime anyone sees these guys, it's usually one that's mixed with just a lot of great and awesome music, but also the interaction really pulls you in. That's why Opeth has been gaining an even greater allure. That brings us to Mastodon. Now, Mastodon is kind of the antithesis of that. With Mastodon, you're going to get minimal, if any, crowd interaction from the boys, and this being the second time that I've seen the guys, the first being on Ozfest. The Ozfest show I understood, but this one was kind of, it was in a more intimate setting, so I figured that there should be a little bit more. But after talking to some of you guys, I realized that this is kind of a typicality. This is not something that is kind of a one-off thing or because they were pressed for time. Secondly, there seemed to be some microphone issues early on. It seemed as though there was a real big off-balance of one vocalist to the other. It seemed like one was getting kind of all the focus as far as the mixing was concerned, while the other one was just really mired in the background. It didn't matter how loud they were to shout or growl or do whatever. They were just going to barely come across as a whisper. And then it seemed like a little bit further on that switched up, and then once we got to about the middle of the show, it started to get regulated. Mastodon's height is not only the musicality that these guys are able to really boast, but also in the visual element. The lighting, the sound was overall, aside from the microphones, fantastic, and of course the eyes of the hunter glowing at specific locations. This was just a very visual experience, which is something that for a band like Mastodon is almost a requirement. But overall, I mean, seeing these guys live, you would almost imagine a little bit more energy from them. But overall, it was a passable experience. It's something where I would still go see them again. However, something just seemed a little bit missing from this. The crowd was into it, which is really what matters. But for myself personally, it was just sort of an okay experience to a good experience. I know that my girlfriend was not really impressed, but that was mainly because she enjoys bands kind of like Opeth that are very personable to the crowd. So overall, this was a great experience. This was a great show filled with 3 bands that have, in the past year or so, released kick-ass albums, and they're supporting them on this tour. You have 2 megaliths of metal together, and then you have the future of metal really opening up for them. Ghost was probably one of the, or should I say, is the best opening act that I've ever seen as far as reaction by the crowd was concerned, as well as my own personal feelings were concerned, because I was captivated, not to mention whenever they launched into their final track of the set, which was Ritual, I went nuts. So my recommendation for you guys is to check out this tour if it's coming around your area, and if there's something that is kind of shielding you from doing so, knock down that shield. Drop everything else that you're doing. If it's your girlfriend's birthday, take her to see it. If she likes Lady Gaga instead of death metal or prog metal, tell her to go fuck herself. That said, great experience. Great job to the guys. And I'll talk to you guys in the Cover Killer Nation next time.